Okay, I'll call to order this August 9, 2017 meeting of the council. Would you kindly rise for a moment of silence, followed by a pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we try to start each meeting with something good. And number 4 on our agenda is PICO Green Region presentation. Would you come up, please?
Good evening. Mr. Chairman, members of council, on behalf of PICO, it's my pleasure to be here tonight and congratulate Pottstown for being a recipient of the PICO Green Region Grant. Joining me tonight is Patrick Gardner. He's the program manager for the Green Region Grant Program for our community partner, Natural Lands Trust. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the wonderful work they do in land preservation and in the general area. We're proud to support your efforts to preserve and enhance open space, and PICO strongly believes in supporting sustainability for the communities that we serve. And we're very pleased to consider your application, especially that it's Riverfront Park is right near the old PICO generating station, so I thought it was kind of cool that that's the project you submitted and received a grant for. And we've been watching the development of the park and that property over the several years, and it's really wonderful work that you're doing there, so we're really happy to support the addition of this pavilion. We really think it'll increase the amenities for the community and really make it more useful. So congratulations on that. Since 2004, PICO has awarded $1.8 million in region grants to about 250 projects throughout our service territory. These grants have helped the communities save over 420 acres of open space, support over 100 upgrades to local parks, and build or improve over 15 miles of trails. So we're very pleased to see the benefits that our program is having throughout the region. I have to say this is a very competitive process. We had over 40 applications this round to consider. The quality of the applications were very good, and I have to say that your program in particular was very highly rated by the review team. So I want to offer congratulations to the team who really worked on this initiative. Their dedication and commitment and enthusiasm really came through in the application. It really made a good quality application. So kudos to the team who worked on that. So without further ado, I just want to say congratulations and present you $10,000 for the improvements to Riverfront Park. And keep up the good work.
Anybody else want to be in the picture?
Oh, and Mark, we have the actual check. Yeah, he gets no real on the video.
Do you want to stand? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. Thank you very much. Thank you. That's perfect. Just get together a little bit more.
Correct this. Sorry, should we level
All right.
a little bit?
Mayor, you be in this? Okay. Not that I want to tell you anything. Oh, can I stand right in front of you? I'm sorry. All right, you move over just a little bit, and good. Oh, that's beautiful. Are you getting everything that you need?
Yeah, go ahead. Great. Thank you, guys.
To the police station.
Okay, well, on behalf of the town and Parks and Rec and Open Space and all that, Mark, would you thank your staff for the good job they did?
Absolutely. Michael, great job on the application. Thank you.
Do it again. Okay, number 5 is a presentation from CCLU, the Latino Festival.
Hello. My name is Giovanna Steyert, and on behalf of the growing Hispanic community in Pottstown greater area, I want to thank you the opportunity to give me a couple of minutes in your busy agenda to promote our second Latin festival. And I'm going to give you some details about last year's first Latin festival, and after that I'm just going to share a couple of the preparations for this year's festival. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a local member. I've been here in Pottstown for about 20 years. I teach. I'm a professor at Ursinus College, and I have 5 kids, who go to the public school district and libraries and just all the facilities. And because of that, many years ago, I became very interested in attending and then organizing programs so that first my children and then other children could participate in. And it's been a long journey because there wasn't much, in years or a couple of decades ago, there wasn't hardly anything. And I've seen the community just grow every year, and I see new families, new faces, and and probably you too, but it's been wonderful to see, all the new members, and also to see the interest of the new Hispanic families of learning English, of wanting to be part of the community. And I know that firsthand because of the many programs that I have been organizing and running personally, like story times at the public library, adult Spanish book clubs at the local library, after-school programs with Centro Cultural Latinos Unidos, who's been in town since 1997, English classes at Aclamo, and many other programs. And I now bring my volunteers, students from Ursinus College, and it's just wonderful to see the connection between, these young college kids, students in the community of Pottstown. So it's been really a joint effort between Centro Cultural Latinos Unidos, with the director Rita Paez, whom I respect very much because of all the work that she does. She's an inspiration to me personally. And so now I just want to share, last year's first Latin festival. It came with the idea of giving some space to the families and also to make connections between the Latino community and, the local community in general. So that was the motivation of the festival, and it was just wonderful to see everybody have a great time. So I'm going to start with, just a short presentation, hopefully with no problems here. All right, so last year, again, was the very first time we hosted an open, air festival at Riverfront Park. So Michael was crucial in everything that we did, and we thank the Borough for all the support as well. So the first sponsor right there is the Borough of Pottstown. They were very nice when I first came with Mrs. Rita Paez to, can you hear me okay? Yeah, to request permission and just, to go about. I had never organized anything bigger than a party, for my children, and not even a big party. So this was, quite daunting. But the borough made it easy, Michael, and really. So then I thought, okay, we can do this again. So first, we want to thank the borough for all their support through the preparations. The Schuylkill River, they have their River of Revolution Center. We've been partnering with them, and for many activities with children mainly. And during the event, they not only did they have a table with information, but they also hosted their center for exhibition and also experiments, right there, open air with the children. The Montgomery County Community College, they donated a parking space, because as you know, it's shared, so that was, very gracious of them to donate that for us. Orsino's College, that's where I work. That's a big one for me because we had over 20 student volunteers who came, and we're just, participating, doing crafts and games and everything. So that was, that's also a big engine, Save a Lot, I don't know if they closed, unfortunately, but they gave us gift certificates. They came also to the festival, and we're donating food and drinks to everyone, so we miss them. But Ballroom on High and Steve J. Dance Productions, they performed, and also they gave a Latin dance where everybody participated. So that was, really, that was a highlight of the festival, what I heard. Ramirez Company, and he donated some games like a bouncing castle and mechanical bull. And Dr. Marvin Marsh was the former reverend of the First Baptist Church. Now they have a different pastor, and he also donated his time and monetary donations. Walmart was present at the festival. It took me a couple of visits, and they were so nice. They gave us piñatas and candies, and so we had like piñata times during the festival, which again was a highlight because we gave prizes, and it was really. It went well. Now I'm just going to go, quickly here. I wasn't sure, whether to put this or not. But this is some of the donors, people who came, who had tables and donated, their time and efforts. And also they made monetary donations to the festival. And any donor is recognized in our program of activities. This is last year's program of activities. It's just, black and white. And it has many pages, and so this is given at both entrances of the park to all the visitors. So if anybody wants to promote their businesses, they are mentioned in the program of activities. So that was really nice. One page, half page, quarter page. So that's a way of promoting local businesses. And these are some of the people who made donations to be here, and you can see like Pottstown Human Relations Commission was one of them. And now some of the performers, again, it was our first festival. We had Pedro Villaseñor from Norristown. It's a mariachi band, and it was wonderful. They performed for an hour. You see that boy there? He also is a young mariachi, independent from the band, and he sang some songs, and it was just great. And other performers, this is the Steve J. Dance Productions. This is just one picture of all the dance and the integration that he brought to everyone, young and old. And he did a wonderful job there. We also had children activities by Art Fusion, and also, with the help of Orsino's College volunteers. If you see any young person with like costumes or hats, those are students from Orsino's. Then we also had, as I mentioned before, the River of Revolution Interpretive Center. They had the experiments outdoors, and they also did a tour and exhibit inside their center. And then that's the Walmart piñatas. This is just one picture. We took so many that, there were two, and kids loved it, of course. And we also had Ramirez Company who donated the bouncing castle, mechanical bull. It was safe. It wasn't like dangerous. It was just fun. And we had other activities that my husband was taking pictures. So, there are other things that were done at the festival that he didn't quite catch. Like there were games, Berean Bible Church, where I attend, they donated lots of games, and also not volunteers, but this time they want to have a table because they are now having a Spanish service at the church, so there's new things for this year. Authentic food, the Borough, of course, gave me the form for the vendors, and anyone that was like a formal vendor had the permit, and everything was just done perfectly. Yes. This year I have to tell my volunteers to bring more cash, because that's a thing people say, I didn't know there was going to be food, and but that was really nice. And last year, the Montgomery County Health Department, they donated 500 booster seats. Not all of them were donated on that day, but that was, highlight, and we promoted that before the event. So, it's just wonderful. And we were honored to have the mayor come to the festival. This is just one shot, and my husband took many. I thought that was, the best, and we thank her for attending. And last year we started, we were just thinking and brainstorming of how to have children and just, the community participate. And the teacher in me thought, hey, maybe we can have an annual writing contest. So after much thought and, meeting at CCLU, we decided it would be done in English, not in Spanish, open to everyone. And at the event last year, we had the winning entry was, said out loud. The girl received a prize, and it was, wonderful. That's the writing entry. It was about respect, because we are going to have the core values of CCLU. Each year, we will have a core value represented as the topic of the essay. This is for children, so it's simple, okay, the instructions and everything. We made it in the Mercury, so that was nice. That's 2 students from Ursinos, so that was cool to have that. And this year, we will host the second festival. We'll see how it goes. We'll see, if the weather will be nice, if people will come, if vendors, will show up, and just, I'm looking forward. But like last year, there's a little bit of apprehension about hosting a second festival. So that's the date for everyone to come, even if it's just for a little while. You don't have to stay for the whole time. We did a flyer in English, and we did one in Spanish, so that, of course, everyone, can read it, not just people who speak English. That was a nice, actually the translator of the second one into Spanish wasn't me, was Sarah Crother from the Heritage Center. So she's been very nice in working with CCLU. Some of this year's festival activities, we will have a bachata performance by a professional instructor, a merengue performance by a professional Zumba instructor. We will have a Guatemalan dance, possibly a kids performance as well. And these are local people, not professional performers. Hopefully we will have more than 2 local people performing and being prideful of their heritage. It's difficult, but we are trying to encourage, men, women, children to participate. So we'll see. Most likely a Mexican dance also by local people. We'll have the same bouncing castle and mechanical bull from last year. Piñatas with prizes. Like last year, we will have a second writing contest this year. Same experiments from last year, crafts and games, and soccer like last year. We had that as well, among other things. These are just some, of the activities that have been, Now, on the same day, yes, second writing contest. On the same day, at the Memorial Park, we have the Pottstown Veterans Community Day, which of course I'm hoping that it will be as well attended as the Latin Festival. However, it's at the same time almost. They start a little earlier, they finish a little earlier than us. But so we have two events, going on in Pottstown on the same day. So that should be, it has to be a sunny, crisp, sunny day on that day. It just has to, because we have a lot going on that day. And I'm just going to finish. This is my last slide. Could have put tons more pictures, but they told me just 10 minutes. So we would like to ask, if possible at all, if the borough could maybe rent a trolley. If not, I don't know, but I think it would help the families if a trolley was rented to transport people maybe every half an hour. From one festival to another. That would ensure, maximum community participation. A lot of the people who go to both festivals do not have public transportation. I mean, we're lucky to have, but most of, my people just walk everywhere, even for 30 minutes to get to a story time under the rain with an umbrella, mother and daughter. It's really moving sometimes when I arrive places in my car and I see people arriving from far away, same, for other events. So that's something that I'm just going to leave to the borough to maybe consider, because we do have two family-oriented events on a Saturday in downtown Pottstown. And now I don't know if anybody has any questions that maybe I can answer.
Councilors, questions?
How do you get it out to the community? How do you?
We have an ad in the Park and Recreation Spring-Summer newsletter. We will have on the Charlotte Street and this, the signs on High Street. We have a Facebook page called Pottstown Latin Festival. CCLU has their own website. Hopefully, we would like the newspaper to run maybe a press release about the event at some point. So far, that is how. Because CCLU, even though we do so much in the community, it's a small organization with limited funds. So, other things that can advertise seem a bit costly, but ideas are welcome. Mm-hmm.
Okay, if there's nothing else, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, we'll begin our subcommittee reports. Infrastructure, Councilor Culp. No meeting. Economic Development, Business Liaison, Mr. Keller.
All right, I have a couple updates for everyone tonight. I'm happy to report that the Washington Street Industrial Highway Stormwater Mitigation Project that was funded with $225,000 through the CDBG grant program has started this week. The project will include upsized piping, larger inlet chambers, and duckbill valves to prevent backflow onto the adjacent roadways. In order to ensure safety of the workers, Industrial Highway is expected to remain closed at Washington Street until Friday, August 11th. The closure started on Tuesday. They're hoping to finish up by the end of the week. Washington Street between Laurel and Industrial will be closed for the extent of the project until August 17th. So although the road closures are a minor inconvenience, it does allow for safety of the workers and a quicker construction schedule of 2 to 3 weeks. So weather permitting, they'll be out of there in another week and a half or so. The walk-bike project, expected to begin sometime in mid-September and remain active until the summer of 2018. pre-construction meeting was held with the contractor J.D. Ekman and PennDOT officials on July 14th. A construction coordination meeting will take place next week to discuss the walk-bike project coordination with the numerous infrastructure and paving projects that we have going on here simultaneously in the borough. And in the near future, staff will be looking to coordinate with Pottstown School District and Borough Police to submit a joint grant application to cover educational programming and outreach for adults and children and motorists that will interface with this walk-bike system. So that's on the horizon. Look for that in the future. New projects. So you heard about the PICO grant. That was a new one that we got in. I'll talk more about that. We also got another grant project in with the assistance of Michael Lane, the Regional Recreation Coordinator. He was able to secure a $30,000 grant from the National Recreation and Parks Association Disney Play Spaces. This grant was a very prestigious grant. Only 30 entities throughout the nation received funding for this. So we were very fortunate in that regard. And this grant will be to construct a new nature-based playground adjacent to the existing play equipment in Memorial Park. The requirement of the grant is that it has to be substantially underway before October 30th and completed by April 30th, 2018. So it's a pretty tight schedule that we have to follow. The project will also engage with elementary age students as well as the larger community to conduct workshops to help design the space, and it will be constructed with the help of Park and Recreation staff. So at this moment, the Regional Recreation Coordinator and Borough staff are quickly moving forward with workshops and gathering the basic natural materials such as large boulders, logs, tree stumps, things of that nature. The children's workshop are being scheduled. I think there might have been one today at Edgewood. The grant will provide the $30,000 match necessary to the 2015 grant that we already received from the Pottstown Area Health and Wellness Foundation. So, and that grant that we received from the foundation was for the reconstruction of aging traditional playground equipment that we have down there now. So essentially the Disney grant has saved us $30,000, so the borough will only have to lay out $5,000 to get both a nature-based playground and the new playground equipment. And for those of you that don't know what a nature-based playground looks like, I pulled up a couple photos here through Google. There's a lot of different natural elements that are incorporated into these spaces. So that just kind of gives you some ideas of what they might look like. A lot of rocks, a lot of trees, tree stumps, stepping stones, stick frame structures, that type of thing. So that's what that grant will cover. And then, as mentioned earlier, the PICO Green Region Grant will fund a new approximately 30 by 40 foot pavilion. That will be named the PICO Schuylkill River Trail Pavilion in honor of the sponsors. In addition to the PICO grant, the project was made possible with a $2,500 grant from the Schuylkill River Heritage Area and a DCNR mini grant administered by the Pottstown Area Health and Wellness Foundation. So this will provide an all-weather space for trail users or for events like the Latino Festival, or it will be rented for private occasions as a revenue source for the borough.
Great.
That's my update.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, transportation, Councilor Cole. No meeting. Ricketts Community Center, we have the report. Anything to add?
Yes. August 19th, the Heart of God Church was sponsoring a book bag drive from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. Currently, they are doing a registration for after-school program. The cost is $10 until October 1st. It is $10 until October 1st.
and then $10 cover the entire school year. After October 1st, the cost goes up to $15. Soccer registration begins the first week of September, and the program is free for all members. That's my report.
Okay. Thank you. He is Pottstown School Board, Mr. Idle.
Thank you, Council. With the start of the new school year, there's always the hiring of new teachers and staff within the district. We would like to welcome the following new members to the district administration team. They are Maureen Jampo, Business Manager, Aaron Trusky, Director of Technology, Aaron Jacobs, Director of Special Education, Kristen Kozik, the Director of Food Services, and Brian Hostetler, who will be the new principal of Pottstown Middle School. Thanks to a grant from Pennsylvania Pre-K Counts, the district will be able to offer a full-day Pre-K Counts classroom at all 4 of our elementary schools for the 2017-2018 school year. This will be the first year that we were able to offer this program to all of our district students. On July 24th, the Policy Committee of the School Board held a special meeting to address the community about their opinions concerning the current uniform policy at our elementary and middle schools. In addition to a good turnout, 28 people addressed the committee with their concerns. Opinions were varied, and the committee will take these views into consideration when deciding how to proceed. Just to note that for the 2017-2018 school year, the uniform policy is still in effect under the same policy as last year. On Friday, September 8th, the Pottstown Trojans will welcome the Bishop Shanahan Eagles for their home football opener Under the Lights at 7 p.m. at Grigg Memorial Stadium. We hope that all members of the Pottstown community come out to celebrate the return of Friday night football and band performances for the district. The installation of Musco lights are on schedule and will allow both fall and spring athletic teams in the district to have the opportunity to play under the lights for years to come. And while we're still enjoying the long, warm days of summer, the 2018 school year is rapidly approaching. The first day for students will be on Monday, August 28th. The next scheduled voting meeting of the Pottstown School Board will take place on Monday, August 21st at 7 p.m. in the high school cafeteria. That concludes my report.
Thank you, sir. And tell us about the library, Mr. Green.
Thank you, Mr. President. As I had mentioned in my previous discussion about the library, we did get a Schuylkill Highlands grant, which I think I indicated to you was a total of $15,000, was a matching grant. And we have already started the planning for that. That grant was to pay for professional planning to develop a layout for water runoff treatment and water control away from the building, since that had been one of the issues we dealt with previously in maintaining the building. So that process has started. The emphasis will be on providing safety in entering and leaving the building and ways of making the plot layout work with the existing ramps and steps that we have, as well as efficient use of the space that we have. We have possibly the idea of having some kind of study area or plantings on the west end of the building, and all of those things will be wrapped up in the plan that's eventually developed. But we have started that process, and hopefully we'll have a plan to present possibly to you and the public before too long. If you've been following the newspaper, you know that Representative Ryan Costello had a town meeting here locally. I would like to emphasize for the adults and for the kids too who have issues that need to be discussed by Representative Costello. He will be meeting in the library in the new space that we have. We do have a new meeting room on the second level of the library as a result of our earlier transformation and interior design of the building. And he meets every first and third Thursday of the month. And someone from his office will be available there from 11 a.m. till 5:30 p.m. So he's trying to make himself available, and I would encourage anyone who has issues to present to him to attend and meet there in the library for that space. The last thing I'd like to mention is that we do have a very significant astronomical event taking place this month. Hopefully you have some idea about what's happening on the 21st. If you don't, there's going to be a solar eclipse, and on that day, and in preparation for it, the library will be offering through a contest of sorts, decorating T-shirts. It's called Galaxy Decoration Day, which will be on the 18th, the weekend before the event. You are to bring, if you want to, a T-shirt to be decorated. And if you attend and support that event, you'll receive a pair of glasses that you can be used to actually see the eclipse. And I've been asked to warn folks, you shouldn't look at that eclipse directly. I mean, you can damage your eyes if you try to look at the eclipse without some kind of aid, such as these specially designed glasses, which are designed to allow you to look directly at the eclipse while it's taking place. The other alternatives would be to have you and your child, if you have, or for young people, if you're interested, make pinhole cameras or find ways of projecting that image onto a secondary place that you can look indirectly at the eclipse as it takes place. It's going to start in Washington on the western side of our coast, approximately 1:15 our time, and continue diagonally across the United States and exit our country at Georgia. So it's going to have a diagonal swatch across the United States during that time from about 1:15 p.m. our time till 4 o'clock p.m. our time. That's in the children's calendar. That information is in the children's calendar, which all of you counselors have received. And we're inviting as many people who can attend and get out there and look at the heavenly events. The last thing is there's going to be another significant related event 7 years hence. Anyone aware of that? 7 years hence, in 2024, there will be another solar eclipse going across the United States again, only in this case, instead of going from northwest to southeast, it will be going from southwest to northeast. It will cut across from Texas and diagonally cross the country and leave approximately at Maine. So we will have a crisscross of the United States by 2 eclipses within a 10-year period, and that's sort of a unique experience. So if you have your glasses for this time, you can hold on to them and use them the next time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, ad hoc zoning. Councilor Prosper.
We were joined by County Planner Donna Fabry to take a closer look at the downtown district, which is essentially High Street from Manatoni to the library.
Very good. Animal Committee. Vice President Miller.
I want to thank Governor Wolf again for signing Libre's law into law in Pennsylvania, and a reminder to everybody that it goes into effect on August 28th, which will allow charges of a felony for maiming, killing, or injuring an animal. I'd also like to offer special thanks and recognition to Pottstown K-9 Officer Taz and Officer Portok for their assistance in tracking and locating 2 suspects in a shooting in Norristown. The collaboration between Pottstown and Norristown and the working relationship that the police departments have is very important and incredibly invaluable to both our municipalities, as invaluable as our K-9 officers are.
Very good. Safety, Chief Drumheller.
Well, apparently all my thunder has been stolen. So, with that said, I will tell you that the industrial highway has presented us with some challenges, mostly all traffic related, and we've been talking with the businesses down on the industrial highway and residents, trying to calm them down and try our best to work out some arrangements to get trucks in and out and stuff like that. So it's provided us some challenges, but as always, we rise to the occasion. The parking signs for the parking committee have been mocked up by Justin and I think the intern, and they will be going to the parking committee for review, and that will be the 17th at 2 o'clock, right next door in the council chambers. So I know there was at least one of you that asked for that time, and it's the 17th at 2 o'clock is the parking committee. While I'm on the topic of the parking committee, as they continue to meet, more ideas have come out, and we are trying to turn every stone we can to make sure that we do this right off the bat. But the bottom line is the conclusion of that, the parking committee will present council with their recommendations, and then it's council's job to do what they want with our recommendations. For those of you who are unaware of it, we had a homicide in the borough. We have identified the suspect. We are actively tracking them, and we are hoping by next time it's a council meeting, I'll have better information other than the fact that we're tracking them. But make no doubt about it that we're making every effort to find the person responsible for that. The next thing I wanted to talk about is, if you're unaware of it, ESM Productions is in the house. And are you going to cover that in your manager's report?
We're going to add that on.
Well, then I won't. Other than the fact that I met with them, I reviewed their plans, and I found everything in order.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pardon me? Dawn is here from the bike race. Address the council? Yes, we're going to do a debrief of the bike race. And for those of you who are unaware, the bike race came the week after the marathon, the day after that. I'll be honest with you, we had a couple issues, but nothing that we couldn't work through. If you'd like Dawn to come up and talk about the bike race.
Sure.
We'll drag you to the money. You think I was just going to let you go, did you?
Yeah, I kind of thought you did. Okay. Very much off the cuff. I thought he was going to report for us. Obviously, we can't do this without the borough support and the chief. Corporal Long did a fabulous job in his stead with helping us out with traffic control. We always have a couple hiccups here and there, and that's to be expected in any event that has so many moving parts. But I think things worked out fairly well. I think that we always learn something new from every event, and we worked last year to make this year better, and we'll work next year to make that better as well. So our goal is to not make the same mistake twice. That being said, we had a great event. We had a number of people, a lot more numbers this year than last year. We had more sponsors. We had street vendors. We had a corporate challenge. And we had a crazy pace car from Valley Forge Sports and Tourism come out. So I don't have anything more than that to say, other than we've already started planning for next year and sponsors are in. We hope you guys are too.
Good. Thank you. Okay, I think it's time for our mayor's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd just like to say how impressive everything has been tonight, from the presentation of the monies through the efforts of Michael Lenhart and staff that worked together. And to us, to me at least, it's good to have this type of a great surprise, and to be presented here at council. I mean, it could have been done any other way in any other type of setting, but to be able to be here and to be on television today, for those who are watching, the good things that are happening, and just to recall the designation of the Trek District, and to hear the Schuylkill River Heritage Area is involved in all of the things that are going on, DCNR and Disney, puts our borough in the spotlight in many different ways, that it would not be in the spotlight if there were not people here that had drive and initiative to see these things come to fruition. I'd just like to say also that the presentation by CCLU covering the Latino Festival from last year and previewing what's anticipated of the festival this year should, in and of itself, even with being televised and being noised abroad, should draw quite a crowd. There was quite a crowd last year, and everything was vibrant about that event. And I just would like to say also that we are looking at situations in Pottstown not as a microcosm, but as a real-time ticker tape of what's happening all across America. And I'm speaking through the prism of the National Night Out. The National Night Out is a time for community members to come out and get to know their neighbors. Once again, that also was a great repeat event that's not just unique to Pottstown, but happens in many places all across our nation. With America being at a crossroads, we're at a crossroads of managing our diversity. We're at a crossroads of managing our geopolitical environment. We're at a crossroad of managing respect among all types of faiths as they exist in the United States of America, of course, which has been labeled as a melting pot. So this melting pot of diversity is everyone's charge to maintain. And I'd like to use that as an intro, with yesterday being the opening of a 40-day window for an event that could be a game changer for our community at large. And the first of those events is called Community Communion. And the entire community is being invited to attend a service of communion in an open forum on September 16th from 6 to 7:30. This event is being organized or sponsored, if you would, by the Kingdom Life Church, which the pastor is my son, Justin Valentine. And I'd just like to say it is for everyone. And it is the same day as the pet fair. Right?
Yeah, Saturday, September 16th.
So
yes.
if you're hanging around and feel an unction to come and share in communion, not to be, brought into any type of matrix, except to know that this is part of a crossroads mentality for us to show ourselves capable of such a thing to the world, which there's also a World Communion Day. So you might say, well, that's well and good, but there's also a National Back to Church Sunday. And when you say church, it's really meaning house of worship, because there are many house of worship of many denominations, cultures, and religions. So we're just encouraging people to return back to a place of peace. If there's one thing that communities of faith can do as we are at the crossroads of America, this is a can-do for all communities, to seek peace, support peace, promote peace through that particular venue, which touches first the heart, which is really the inception point for good or evil. Is that my cue? So with this, I would just say September 16th and September 17th could prove to be very salient days where what we consider as a microcosm in our small community could be put on the macro meter, if you will, of our nation. Facilitating things we are doing as our nation is in a crossroads.
Thank you. Manager's report.
Thank you, Ms. Wynn. I want to bring council up to speed regarding land banking. You may recall Winifred Branton, Branton Strategies, had presented a couple of times in regards to land banking. Staff recently met with Winnie. She's assisting in the finalization of the proposed ordinance. We being staff, will be meeting with the Tax Claim Bureau later this month to work out some of the details, and we anticipate reconvening the stakeholders committee shortly thereafter. It's our hope that we can bring a proposal or proposed ordinance to council in October, and hopefully we can get this done by the end of the year so we have an ordinance in place for next year. I want to give you a heads up that Parks Rec staff have identified some safety issues with the playground equipment at Memorial Park, the current playground equipment. And because of these issues, at the end of the summer season, when the kids return to school, the equipment will be cut down. We should be in a position with some funding that we have from the Health and Wellness Foundation to have the equipment replaced probably around the third quarter of next year. And with the Disney Play Spaces grant moving forward, which I believe, Michael, you said that has to be in by March? April. The impact of the equipment removal should be minimal to the community. In regard to vacancies, we've begun the monthly reporting on vacancies. There's no vacancies upcoming to report regarding advertising, and all the vacancies that are scheduled for action this evening have been previously advertised via social media and on the Borough website as per your direction. And last but not least, remember that on Monday, September 4th, our nation will be honoring the men and women who gave their lives in service to our country, Memorial Day, and Borough Hall will be closed for business on that date. See you there.
Thank you.
I'm sorry?
Labor Day.
Labor Day.
Yeah.
Did I say Memorial Day?
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
I hit my head a couple weeks ago.
Hey. Okay, number 9 is Rockwell Development Group. Going to talk to us about South Charlotte Street to one-way.
Tom Burley.
Good evening, Council. For those of you who don't know me, I am Tom Burley. I'm the General Manager at Rockwell Development Group, and I'll meet with Mr. Flinders afterwards to discuss the difference between Labor Day and Memorial Day. But what I wanted to do is come back to you guys and give you an update on our project at 300 Cherry Street. As you recall, we presented to Borough Council back in June to gain your support of our project. As we went to the zoning hearing board, we had a denial of our relief for our zoning relief. The feedback that we received was that there was an issue with the interpretation of on-street parking versus off-street parking. There have been some neighbors in the community that voiced some opinion. We went back to the community. We've worked with the borough, and I think that we've hopefully come to put together a better plan that makes sense for Borough Council. So if you give me a minute, I'd like to present that plan to you. Our options were where are we going to find parking in a very tight space, we looked at a couple different options, including making offers on properties and trying to find other pieces of land that we could purchase to increase our parking availability. That really didn't come to fruition like we thought it would. So then we took the next step of how can we increase parking in the area. There was a section of South Charlotte Street that was previously vacated by the borough. This is actually a part of the Hanover Square residential townhome community. What we have spoken with the HOA to gain their support. Their objective is getting something done with the building. I think it would help the entire community if we can renovate the old shirt factory at 300 Cherry Street. They have given us their support of looking at changing the section of South Charlotte Street between Cherry Street and Industrial Highway into a one-way southbound. Okay. Now, by changing it to a one-way, what we are able to do is we are able to add parking on both sides of the street. So we increase our parking availability by 9 spaces. It's in our opinion, and we would have to discuss this with Borough, that it's in our opinion because the property was vacated by the borough in the 70s, we feel that this would be considered off-street parking, and we could then count that as part of our our project to renovate and rehab the old shirt factory. In addition to working on that change, we have also eliminated one apartment from our project, which would decrease the amount of parking spaces needed to 54 total. Our current plan, we would still need a little bit of relief from the zoning hearing board, but we feel that it's a much more clear plan than was presented prior. So what we would have is we would have 25 spaces, and each of the spaces on your plan are numbered. We would have 25 spaces in the parking lot behind the shirt factory, the current shirt factory. We would have 18 spaces along South Charlotte Street, and then we would account for our allowed 6 spaces, which is 10% of our necessary parking needed on Cherry Street. That would put us at 49 spaces. We would need 54. We would still need to go in for a waiver or relief for those 5 spaces. But there are a couple different options that I think are out there that we can discuss tonight. We have closed off the opening to the current parking lot at this old shirt factory. That creates 3 additional spots. So right there, if you look at, hey, we were asking for 5 spots, we're creating 3 additional spots. So if you're looking at it at what's the net that they're seeking, we're seeking a net of 2 spots. In addition to that, I have had conversations with staff that for everybody who's knowledgeable of South Charlotte Street, currently it is one way from High Street to South Street. Then it changes from 2-way from South Street to Industrial Highway. If we were to change our section as a 1-way street, there would be an option for the borough to discuss changing the section from South Street to Cherry Street as a 1-way street also. That would open up parking availability on both sides of the street of South Charlotte Street. So as I said, I think that this plan has been something that we've worked with neighbors in the community. One of the people that was previously showed up to not support our project at the zoning hearing board. I met with a few of the neighbors tonight. She attended the meeting with me, and I'd like to invite her up so that she could talk. Her name is Sandra Franklin.
Thank you for inviting me here today. I live on Cherry Street, very close to this project. At first, we were very concerned about the parking because it can be at a premium in the borough, as we all know. I've owned 2 businesses in Pottstown, and I know about the parking issues.
Could you use the microphone?
I'm sorry. So when this was presented, I was very concerned about the parking issues. And I had approached Tom and I said, well, maybe you can make this 1-way. We'd really like to see this for the neighborhood, for the borough. If you can do this and create more spaces, I would be willing to support this. And I think the plan is brilliant. I've looked at the spaces. I know what it's been like with the current renovations that have happened in the old Smith properties. We haven't had any issues with parking, and I've lived there for a few years prior to all this renovation. I've spoken with other neighbors, and there hasn't been opposition if this was to occur. I'm the only one that I've talked to who's been able to come tonight, and at that I came from Philadelphia for my job to make this meeting, to make it a supportive person for this project. I believe in it. I think it would be wonderful. I don't see that there would be a parking issue with what they're proposing. So thank you.
Thank you.
So in conclusion, I'd like to just, I think we've heard the concerns of the neighbors. I think we can't come with a revised plan that I think alleviates the concerns of the neighborhood. I think it's in everybody's best interest, including the borough, that something is done with that old shirt factory. The plans that we have for it, we're going through National Historic Registry right now to try to restore it to historical significance and make it look like it was in its prime. I think it would be a benefit to the entire community. what I'd like to ask you guys is for your support on our project, and if you have any questions at this time, I'd be happy to answer them.
Councilors, questions?
Question regarding trash removal.
Yes.
Will you be using a private hauler and dumpsters? And is there a place for that?
There is a place for that. Currently, it's right on Cherry Street. We haven't gotten to the point whether it's a private or a public hauler yet, so I think that would be resolved as we kind of move forward with the project.
But you already have a space designated?
Yes, yes.
The section on South Charlotte Street that was vacated by the borough in the 70s that you're counting towards off-street parking, so your development then is going to take responsibility for that as far as paving and plowing, and you're going to keep that property as part of your development?
Yes, yes. So just to clarify, these are two I work for Rockwell Development Group, and we manage the Hanover Square Town Home community. And obviously, the shirt factory is a different project altogether. But we're hoping that we will work with the HOA to maintain that section of the street and utilize it as part of our parking for the shirt factory apartments. So it's actually on the street, but it's being designated as off-street because it was abandoned. Well, we still have to go through the step of asking the borough to define whether that is off-street or on-street, but because it's a private street technically, because we have ownership, or the HOA has ownership of it, we feel that it should be considered off-street parking.
Well, I could just make a comment to council. We're back in a situation where the applicant's going to need zoning relief. Mayor, your question about the trash and that will all have to be addressed at a land development, presuming zoning relief is granted. So this is not the only chance you're going to see this project. This is only to try and determine whether or not they can get zoning to even move forward with the development. So all the intricacies of parking and landscaping and trash will all be addressed through the development process. This is just a question of now, what you're presenting is you believe that you've increased the number of available parking spaces per the new layout, and you've decreased the number of units, so you need less spaces than before. And I think what you're asking is council to support in concept this new plan to the extent it needs parking relief from the zoning hearing board. Is that kind of what you're asking?
Exactly.
Okay.
I should hire you.
I'm already taken.
One other comment. I did provide. We did, in preparation for this meeting, we provided some traffic detail counts on that section of South Charlotte Street. As you can see, it was kind of shocking to me that they set up a camera that counted every car that went by there. There was 1,000 cars going by there a day, and of those 1,000, there was less than 15% going northbound. So I think, as it stands right now, the majority of the people that are using that street are heading southbound, and I think, I think it's a decent concept, and I think that, I want to really get this project to the next step. This is kind of our final final swing at this project, and I hope you guys support it because I really think it would be great for the community and the neighborhood.
The people in the townhouse communities didn't have a problem with entering, I guess, off of the industrial highway. You don't have to go up Charlotte Street to get in. There's another street before that. So, and then there's also Cherry Street, right? You can enter the townhouse community.
Now, we've spoken with, we've gained support of the people from the community. We still have to go through the formalities of that. I guess the way they looked at it was, would we rather have the property refurbished, or is a little bit of traffic going to change our minds? And I think they wanted to see the property refurbished.
I know I travel Charlotte Street quite often in the morning, and I've never really ran into anybody coming in the opposite direction, because I always went, south of the industrial highway.
It's also kind of a precarious intersection there too.
It
with
is,
the
yes.
south and it's the really.
Yes.
And if you guys probably know that most of the streets kind of alternate directions coming off of High Street. So I think as far as the whole borough traffic patterns are concerned, I think it makes sense.
Not to jump ahead in the process, but the question I have, looking at it, once you have established parking on both sides, does that allow enough space for emergency vehicles to travel between them?
That would certainly be something that we have to work on.
Okay.
If I could just make a suggestion, because I know there's been some issues, and I want Doug to weigh in as well as Keith on some of the zoning issues, but not necessarily in the scope of the meeting. But if council were inclined to list this on the agenda for Monday for some kind of conceptual approval vote, which is up to council, I would suggest, Tom, that we sit down very quickly with staff and just go over the issues from the interpretation of the zoning officer with respect to the parking. I know there might be some issues as far as the borough shifting the portion of the street one way. It makes a lot of sense, but I just want to make sure that everyone, including Doug and the chief, are on board with that. And then you would be free to file an application to the zoning hearing board once you clearly define what relief you need, and then you move ahead with that. Is that a reasonable suggestion to do?
Absolutely.
Because I want to make sure we kind of globally clean all this up rather than to piecemeal it.
Yeah, no, I'd be happy to meet in the next couple days so that it's ready for Monday.
Okay, then to move this along, we'll list this for Monday evening.
Okay, and so the council's aware too, if this does move along and comes to fruition, the police chief has taken a strong look at that small section of Charlotte Street that will be left as two-way, and I believe there's a recommendation that, go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, we actually already reviewed it. We actually went down and we looked at the area, and for us, it would be a matter of making it an all one-way street. It would make sense that you would not let just one block two-way, and as all those streets down in that way are all pretty much one way in each direction. So my recommendation would be to make it all, and I can't see anybody who would disagree with the fact that we would still be adding parking then. So.
Interestingly, you may recall we heard some complaints about, from the last time Tom was here, about the bar, which is a non-starter now because they've moved on, but also the church there when they have their weekly meetings or their nightly meetings. In changing that section of Charlotte Street, it would afford more parking for the people that attend those meetings and help the residents with the congestion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. That's Rockwell. Okay, number 10, ESM Productions. What do you have?
ESM Productions have submitted a plan to hold an event on, I believe, October the 7th at Memorial Park. We'll ask that somebody from ESM come up and explain what the event's going to be, but the question they are asking of Borough Council is one of the things that they would like to have at this event is a beer garden, and that's obviously going to require your approval. Sir?
Good evening, councilors. My name is Scott Merkin. I'm president of ESM Productions. We are in the process of planning an event at Memorial Park for October 7th with a sponsor, Citadel Credit Union. They have two goals for this event. One is to make folks aware of Citadel Credit Union, and the other is to raise money for the Children's Miracle Network and donate 100% of the ticket sale proceeds to charity. We have secured the great talent of a country superstar named Hunter Hayes, who will be here in Pottstown performing on October 7th. The press release that went out a few days ago is coining this Citadel Palooza. Folks who use that Palooza word pretty loosely. But we intend to have a day-long family-friendly event at Memorial Park. We've met with staff and police and presented the draft event operations submission. It's important that we use the word submission until the chief and others and all of us agree, then it becomes the plan. We've been producing events of this nature and this size all over the world for about 25 years, and we're really excited to be here in Pottstown. It's very important to us also when we come to a community to produce an event, is to, even in a small way, contribute to the economic growth of the community. And so one of the ways that we can do that pretty easily is to engage with all of as many as possible local food and beverage purveyors that we can to supply food and beverage and anything else that we need for the event. So it came, the recommendation to work with the local brew pub, which I just frequented a little while ago. I didn't drink anything, but I had a wonderful salad. Because I ride a motorcycle, I don't drink and drive. But Sly Fox, who has a stellar reputation of doing it safely, doing it right, having ramp certified folks, and making sure that we're compliant and safe, which is the most important thing for any event that we produce. So we are formally requesting. There was a letter that was submitted requesting the approval of the beer garden. And we intend to, along with that and other local food and beverage and anything else that we can involve the community in this event, we'd love to just make it a great day on October the 7th. And I think this is now at least the second or third request of this council to make sure the weather is really good for the entire month of September and October. So I would also request good weather. And I'm happy to answer any questions as well.
Great. If there are any questions from council? Otherwise, we'll list it for Monday evening. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much.
11 is Ambucks.
The Pottstown Ambucks have requested to hold their Rally Association joint effort, a two-day soapbox derby again on Wilson Street on the Hill, Saturday September the 16th and Sunday the 17th. They are asking for street closure from Saturday the 16th at about 6 o'clock a.m. Through approximately 6 o'clock p.m. on Sunday evening the 17th.
Very good. And we'll list that for Monday. Okay, 12 is the mid-year budget adjustments. They're complete.
Yes, they are. You should have had in your packets the adjusted figures. As a reminder, this is not changing the approved budget amount, it's changing the allocations. Mid-year review, department heads determined where they need to shift funds from to balance towards the end of the year. So we are asking for your approval of the changes.
Okay. We'll list that for Monday. 13 is parking swap agreement at Security Plaza.
So you may recall that several months ago, Chris Adia came to Borough Council to speak about the judge's offices going in Security Plaza behind us. Since they've occupied that facility, they've discovered that there is a parking complication for the staff, which can easily be remedied. They are asking if council would enter into an agreement with them to shift the borough spaces, which are located directly behind our building, our parking lot, in line with Judge Kropp's office, down to the end closest to York Street, space for space, the 7 spots, and allow them to use the space that's on the borough property. That will make it easier for the judge's staff to do some things at nighttime that they're not comfortable going to in the hours of darkness. I don't see an issue with that. Staff has reviewed it, and if council is so inclined to do it, we would ask the solicitor to draft an agreement.
Very good. We'll list that for Monday. 14. 14 is 505 Lincoln Avenue Land Development Plan.
I'll take that, Mr. President.
Mm-hmm.
This is a land development project that was filed for the property at 505 Lincoln Avenue. I believe it was for 5 or 6 townhome units. The reason it was listed on your agenda is because that the time for Borough Council to act on this plan was about to expire on August 15th. This evening, we received a written extension request by the applicant so that the council does not have to take any action on this plan until sometime in November. So it won't be necessary to take any action on this plan on Monday night. And just to digress for a minute, just so everyone understands the process of subdivision and land developments, back in the late 90s to mid-2000s, there were a lot of projects in the borough that came through the Planning Commission, and there were a lot of new projects. So it was pretty routine that we were always having projects to approve. But when the crash kind of came in 2008, 2009, a lot of development slowed up. But under the state planning code, there is a requirement when a plan's submitted that a municipality take action within a period of time. And that's 90 days unless that time is extended by the developer. So what we do when we get plans is we monitor these clocks to make sure that we don't miss a deadline. If we miss a deadline, technically the plan could be deemed approved without your action. So these time periods are set up by state law, and we're just, again, not having to do anything but make sure that the plans either comply so you can approve them or deny them in a timely fashion. So that's why there's these issues with sometimes you'll see plans on an agenda and then they get removed. But we really haven't had too many plans lately that have come through, and this one has been around now for about a year. There's been some action on it, but it hasn't really been, pressed by the developer. So right now we're just in a holding pattern, and there will be no action required Monday, but just wanted to give you a background in case you had any questions on how the process works.
Okay. So we can approve the extension Monday night.
And you don't even have to vote on the extension. It's automatic, so there'll be no action listed.
Okay, very good. 15 is the ordinance amendment. Standard technical specifications / water mains and appurtenances.
Yep. Yeah, we've been talking about this, I guess, for a while. The authority has updated its specifications with respect to water mains and appurtenances. I was actually hoping to have the ordinance ready for you Monday, but time advertising didn't permit that. So I think we have put in your packet just a sample of the changes that were being made to the specifications for your review, and the ordinance will be ready for the September meeting for your adoption. I believe the authority has already approved these changes, and council will just ratify by ordinance these new standards, which are intended to be updated and more user-friendly.
So no action needed.
No, this was just more for information.
Right. 16 is a resolution, PennDOT DUI safety grant.
Chief, do you have a comment about the grant?
My comment is we get this grant every year, and it's about $50,000. I believe it's actually $50,000, and it doesn't purchase any equipment. It just pays for overtime salaries. But as always, it's 100% match.
Right.
I mean, 100% no match. Sorry. Scared you for a second, Devin.
Okay, we'll accept that. Thank you. And we'll do that for Monday, the resolution. 17, board vacancies. A is Code Board of Appeals. We only have the one, Anthony Campbell. Yeah. Okay. B is Environmental Advisory Board, 2 3-year terms, and we have 2 applying. C is Human Relations Commission. There's 1 vacancy and no applicants yet. Okay, we'll address that Monday. Harb documents. Oh, yeah. 58 King Street. It's just one property. Right. Okay. Comments, we'll handle that Monday evening. We do have an add-on, and where's my green sheet? Pottstown's second annual Community Field Day is proposed for Saturday, August 19th, and they're requesting the closure of Washington Street, similar to what was done last week for National Night Out. And we have a spokesman, or
Judy Memberg.
Judy?
So we are asking.
There's a short one here.
Thank you. So, thank you. So, Genesis Housing is sponsoring the second Community Field Day, along with Pottstown Health and Wellness and several other organizations, to bring a day, a few hours of physical activity and information about how to be more active, on low-cost ways to do that, helpful hints, and a very fun activity with lots of little prizes. But we would like to have some information tables, and so while some of it was in the park, we also would like to have the street closed.
Okay. So you're just asking for that one block?
Correct.
To be closed?
And you wouldn't obstruct the alley, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Hearing no complaints, we'll list that for Monday evening.
Thank you, Judy.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Time for comments from citizens. Madam?
The first was Michelle Rohr, I believe signed in thinking she needed to do that for her conditional use hearing.
Okay.
The next is Scott Merkin. Yes, he was here also. Mr. Hilton, you're up.
Rules are the same as school board, 3 minutes.
I'll do my best.
Good.
You can cut me off.
Welcome.
Welcome, thank you. In November 2014, I was given leave to make a presentation at council about flexible paving material for sidewalks. I showed about 140 slides of FlexiPave in Washington and asphalt sidewalks in Europe, in Canada, in New England, New Jersey, Princeton University and Princeton Borough use asphalt sidewalks. Montgomery County, Bryn Athyn uses asphalt sidewalks. I pointed out asphalt sidewalks is permitted by PennDOT. In fact, Upper Yukon Township, Manchester County, got a grant to install an asphalt sidewalk. And I asked council to consider passing an ordinance allowing flexible paving, that is asphalt sidewalks. So that ordinance was passed in September of 2015, specifically allowing flexible paving material. Certainly asphalt is paving material is the most common paving material in the country. Most common paving material here in Pottstown, probably 90–95% of the pavement. All our streets, our parking lots, our driveways, the greenway, the walkways at the Hill School, all asphalt. So this was passed. So we got together with Mosaic and wanted to do a demonstration project along their community garden on Charlotte Street to put in an asphalt sidewalk and got a permit. And we're about to pour the asphalt when Public Works came and said, no, you can't do an asphalt sidewalk. And I said, well, that's the whole purpose of the ordinance. So I had a meeting with Mr. Flanders, went over the whole thing, and Mr. Flanders said, he's right here, I can tell you what he said, but to sum up, he said, you got a permit. Asphalt is a flexible paving material, so in this case, I'm letting you do it, and it's done. And we just coated it yesterday, and I'm inviting all of you to go take a look at it. I think it looks really great. It's on Charlotte between Walnut until the end of the community garden.
Between Walnut and where?
It's on Charlotte Street at Walnut, where the Mosaic Community Garden is,
Okay.
one with a little fence. So then the barber, who is cat-a-corner from Mosaic, went to the contractor who did that and said, hey, I really like that. I'd like to put in an asphalt sidewalk. And so the contractor went to Public Works and they said, no, you can't put in an asphalt sidewalk. So my view is that a presentation was made, council passed an ordinance specifically saying flexible paving material, which is an exact description of asphalt, and I'm not sure why Public Works would not allow it to be installed. That's the whole purpose of the ordinance.
Okay.
So I'm bringing this to your attention, and I'm hoping that there's to be some kind of a councilmatic direction. You have, the weekend, if you care, to look at this sidewalk, which I think is pretty nice, and perhaps you could do something on Monday. That's my request.
I'm sure staff will look at this. Thank you. Next.
Sandra Franklin.
She spoke.
She spoke. So that would be it.
Oh, okay.
Mr. President, I see
think you forgot the Human Relations Commission.
You're right. Human Relations, one vacancy. We did go over that.
Yeah, but
And there's no applicant.
They're going to do report? Okay.
Monday.
Can I add something, though, to this? Maureen Allen did apply when there was a prior vacancy, so I think it should be checked out if she's still interested, because that would be considered an applicant.
We called it twice.
Pardon me?
We called it twice already.
I believe we were waiting for a recommendation, first a applicant and then a recommendation from the Human Relations Commission, neither of which we have at this time.
Right. But she did apply before, which would make her in a queue. So that's what I'm considered in queue, as she already.
I believe she was already contacted.
Okay.
Marcia's shaking her head yes.
Okay. Next would be Councilors' General Discussion. Anything to bring up with Councilor Kirkland? Councilor Paez? No? Councilor Prosper?
Well, I'd reflect on National Night Out. It went very well. Judy member did
I saw you there.
Yeah, exactly.
Councilor
Law enforcement was there, and I mean, every person that you think would want to be there is, fire department, the county DA, various businesses and churches, and most importantly, the community. There's lots of folks
great.
there.
Carol? Nothing? Councilor Miller?
Despite the many daily challenges we face here in the borough, I want to take the time to recognize some of the outstanding people working hard every day to make a positive difference in the Pottstown community. First, I'd like to recognize Sheila Dugan and the Dugan family, who I've gotten to know very well, Shane, Riley, Shiloh, Tori, and Virginia Lee, for all their hard work, time, and effort that they put into the many wonderful downtown events that are happening weekly, including the Midday Cafe, the pop-up restaurants, and the Pottstown Farm, which I'm really loving, by the way. I'd also like to thank Mary Ann Lynch and Stacy Woodland, Executive Director of Habitat for Humanity and Executive Director of the YWCA, for partnering together to apply for FAIR funding, which, if you don't know what that is, it's the Pennsylvania Housing Affordability Rehabilitation Enhancement Fund, to address the properties at 323 and 325 King Street that'll serve to benefit not just the YWCA, but Habitat for Humanity's home buying program and an increased tax base for the entire borough of Pottstown. So I wish them much success on the application of that grant. Judy Memberg for her tireless efforts to provide free credit counseling courses and her participation in community revitalization efforts. Matt Green of Glocker Real Estate for holding free home buying seminars throughout the year. Erica Hornberg Cooper for her hands-on programs working with youth education in art, farming, cooking, and healthy eating. Adam Burke for believing in Pottstown and the efforts of his revitalization of downtown, pioneering the expansion of business to create an enjoyable atmosphere and nightlife, from the opening of Lily's Grill fine dining restaurant to the upcoming opening of the Pottstown United Brewing Company. And also volunteering much of his time, talent, and efforts to several projects and programs in the downtown. Our new fire chief, Mike Lassar, who is on hand at every community event to answer questions and to offer assistance. And in a very short time, he has become part of the Pottstown family. The Phillies Fire Company for their participation in National Night Out and their unparalleled commitment to the community service and education. I can always count on them to be there for anything that I ask of them. I also want to thank the Human Relations Commission for stepping up and being present at community events and to answer questions and offer guidance and direction to community members. Reminder, the Pet Fair on Saturday, September 16th, and Pottstown Paws should be ready to launch and have some adoptable pets that are available by application at the event. And one last announcement, because as you know, I'm a person of few words. The people in the Pottstown community have many needs, and I've worked very hard for the last 4 years doing my best to meet those needs at the expense of my own. I don't feel that I have another 4 years of time and energy to give all of myself to the Pottstown community. So in fairness to the residents, I'm withdrawing my candidacy for re-election in 2018. I've already notified the County Board of Elections, and I hope the next person that steps into this position to represent not just the 3rd Ward, but the entire borough of Pottstown is a fighter, because we sure do need one. Thank you.
Okay. Mayor? Good? And I am good. We will be stepping into executive session. We have an issue with personnel and an issue with a possible litigation. Will not be returning. See you Monday night. Meeting adjourned.